To finish off chapter 5, we were looking at water balance in cells. And we discussed how in a hypotonic solution, very watery, low solutes, water would move into the red blood cell because there's more solutes in there and it wants to balance it out. That would cause the cell to distend, to burst, or to lyse, to break open. On the other hand, if you put it in a very hypertonic solution, very salty, very high solute, there's less solutes in the cell, so water leaves the cell to try to balance it out, and that cell shrivels. In plants, it's somewhat similar. However, because they have this cell wall, the cell shape doesn't change as much. So in hypotonic, the vacuole can fill with more water and it gets more full, but it doesn't burst. And when it shrivels, you can see the plasma membrane have spaces between that and the cell wall. Osmoregulation is the control of water balance in animals, and we have some really cool adaptations in the animal world to help control osmoregulation, water movement. So fish, for example, we've got marine fish and we've got freshwater fish, and both of those have to have different features to maintain normal water levels. Think about it. If a fish is in freshwater, that's like a hypotonic solution. So it has to have a way to get rid of lots of water. So in this example, they excrete large amounts of dilute urine, very watery, from their kidneys. They take salt in through their gills to help maintain normal levels. Marine creatures, on the other hand, would have the opposite problem. So those would be in a really hypertonic solution, very salty. So they have to keep water in. So they would be getting rid of very concentrated urine, low levels of it. And so like seabirds, for example, some of them have what's called a nasal salt gland, where they excrete that salt that they've taken in to get rid of it. And then other creatures like this little cute kangaroo rat from the western US, they live in very dry environments. So they have to make sure they don't lose too much water. And what they do is they have modified kidneys where they have the functional unit there has a very long portion that helps them concentrate their urine up so that they keep more water in. And they can actually survive without drinking any water. They can get enough water from their food and their metabolism, making it during cellular respiration, to keep them alive and kicking. And then in plant cells, because they have the rigid cell walls, the water balance is different. But they are at the mercy of the environment, so you'll see that when there's low water, they'll wilt. And then they have different structures in place, like the CAM and the C4, to help decrease water loss if they're in drier areas.